So on May 16th, I remember being at the condo and, sitting with your mom all night, and she was having, um, not convulsions, contractions. And it was just like, there was no sleeping that night at all. And then we finally went down to the hospital and they did some tests and sent us home. And I wasn't happy about that at all. I was pretty mad. So here's your poor mother, going into labor, and I'm like, I can't believe they would send us home. And so we eventually went back down there, and they kept us. And it came time for, the fireworks. And so, because you were born C-section, you had to take your mom back first, and and I had to stay outside. But I had my little blue outfit on, my little blue hat, and looked like a surgeon myself. And so, so they took your mom in there, and they're like, we'll come out and get you when it's time. And I had the video, I had the camcorder. That's back when we had a camcorder. There was no, video cameras and phones. And so I'm waiting outside. They're like, okay, go ahead and come on in. And so I walked in. I didn't expect to see what I saw. There was your mother down the table with her arms stretched out like this, tied down and everything. And and she was so delirious with medicine and stuff like that. She was just like, ah! And I was like, what's going on? And so, so now I'm standing at your mom's head, kind of to her right, and they had a curtain lifted up, like where your mom's belly has that big curtain lifted up to about here. I'm like, and then the really train. And so then the doctor was like, okay, Dad, you ready? I was like, yep. So I got the camera out and I saw him, do a little thing like this in your mom's belly. And then he did something else and just boom, like just all this water came out, and it was like so amazing. And all of a sudden, boop, there was your little face. Your head just popped right out, and you were like, wah! You were not happy at all. And so he was a Jewish doctor too, and I can still see his face. I can't remember his name, but I know his face very well. And he pulled you out and he held you up like this. He's like, you got it, Dad? And I was like, hit the camcorder. I'm like, yeah, I got it. And so they kind of took you over, and they were doing something to you. And then I realized, I was like, wait a minute, I was supposed to cut the cord. And so I was like, hey, I'm still standing over here on this side of the curtain. I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to cut the cord. But they had forgot or something or whatever, because they don't do that 10 times a day. And so they're like, oh, so we already cut the cord. And so they're messing with you over here. And so these two nurses brought a piece of your umbilical cord, probably about 12 inches long, clipped on both ends. And I got to take one of the scissors and stuff and cut that in half. So at least I got to experience the, what it was like, the umbilical cord and all that stuff like that. Then they whisked you off into the back, and I got to go. I got to go with you, and so they have you on this little table, and the nurse is pushing you, and you're just butt naked. You don't even have a blanket on. You just got the little bands on your wrist and your foot, and like your feet and your hands are black. Because your oxygen wasn't pumping, all the way yet, and you were screaming your little head off. You would get in the back, and they're cleaning and stuff, and putting all this stuff in your eyes. And I'm just standing there talking to you. I always call it the McDonald's French fry lamp, because you were laying under the McDonald's French fry lamp, all warm and cozy. And So I'm just sitting there looking at you, and the nurse comes in there. She goes, Jason, Molly wants you, in the, in her room where she'd been moved to and was kind of starting to recuperate a little bit. And so she's like, Molly wants you. And I'm like looking at the nurse, and I'm like looking down at you. I'm like looking at the nurse, and I'm like looking down at you. And I was like, I didn't want to leave your side and everything. And so they were eventually like, okay, we're going to get her ready. Just hang on for a second. And so I actually got to, now they have your little cute little hat on and your little outfit and wrapped, swaddled and everything. So I got to push you into the room where your mom was. And so she could see you for the first time. And man, what an adventure. What an adventure that was. And yeah, then your first visitors were your Grandpa Dave and your grandma. And yeah, it was something else, but I just never forget. It was just like bloop, there you were in an instant. All I could see was your little head, and like I said, you were just screaming bloody murder, and it was a very cool, amazing experience. And I'm just so very glad that you were born. And again, I have hopes and desires and dreams and stuff for the future, and that someday you and I could have a relationship and spend a birthday together, and so I just want you to know that. And so wish you a happy 16th birthday. You were thought of and missed every day of my life. Happy birthday, Ruby.